Everyone in the hospital froze. The moment the white wolf walked through the front doors, bleeding, limping, and carrying something in its mouth, it was like time stopped. No one moved, no one spoke. Some screamed, but one woman stepped forward, not back. What she found at his feet changed everything. Let me take you back to where it all began. My amazing friends and family, welcome back to Jenna's Velvet Tales. Before we continue, please take a moment to subscribe. Every subscription helps us share more emotional stories about the deep bonds between humans and animals. If this kind of story touches you, your support truly means a lot. Feel free to say where you're watching from, and don't forget to explore more beautiful stories here on the channel. Now back to the story. The smell of food trays still hung in the hallway. One nurse was helping a man back to his wheelchair when the first sound came. Not loud, just the kind of soft breath that pulls attention. Heads turned. Then shoes stopped. Right there at the front doors, everyone saw him. A full-grown white wolf. Big, quiet, bloody. He didn't growl. He didn't look around. He just walked forward with his head low and a piece of red cloth hanging from his jaw. The nurse dropped her tablet. Someone gasped. Someone else backed against the wall. A security guard reached for something on his belt but didn't pull it. No one dared. The wolf wasn't chasing. He wasn't fast. He walked like he was carrying something fragile. And he was. In that cloth, barely visible under the folds, was a child. Not a sound from her. Just the slow bounce of each limp step. The wolf reached the center of the hallway. He stopped, looked ahead, then gently placed the bundle on the floor. People stared but didn't move. Behind the nurse's station, a woman in scrubs stepped forward. Her name was Claire. Not many people knew she used to be a combat medic overseas. She didn't like to talk about it. But something in her eyes was different. She didn't panic. She didn't freeze. She walked slowly toward the animal. "Easy," she said, voice low but steady. The wolf turned his head slightly but didn't bare teeth. He was shaking. His front leg had a deep gash around it, already swollen. His fur was stained down one side. He didn't care. His eyes stayed on the cloth. Claire knelt without fear. She reached forward, not at the wolf, but at what he had brought. Her hands pulled the scarf away gently. There it was. A little girl. Pale. Still. Her lips cracked. Her arms cold to the touch. "Get a gurney," Claire said without yelling. "Page Pediatrics. Crash cart now." Nobody moved. "I said now." That broke the spell. Nurses moved. One ran. Someone shouted for the on-call doctor. The security guard stepped back, unsure if he should help or stay out of the way. Claire placed her fingers against the girl's neck. "She's alive," she said. The wolf let out a breath and sank slowly beside the child, his body folding to the floor like he couldn't carry it anymore. But he didn't close his eyes. He kept them on the girl. Every second. "Who is she?" one nurse asked, shaken. Claire didn't answer. She was already checking the girl's breathing. "She's dehydrated. Cold. We need warm blankets. Saline. Don't wait for instructions." A young nurse tried to step closer to the wolf. He growled. Not loud, but low enough to freeze her in place. "It's okay," Claire said to him, without looking away. "No one's taking her from you. I promise." The child's lips moved slightly. No sound. Just the bare movement of a whisper. Claire leaned closer. She heard it. One word. "Rachel." Then silence again. That night, when the ER had calmed, when the girl was taken to a room and doctors were monitoring her through the night, Claire stayed behind. She sat on the floor of a side hallway. Beside her, the wolf lay still. His breathing was uneven. His paw was bleeding again. The vet on call had refused to come close. Only Claire stayed. She didn't know why. But something in his eyes. Something in the way he hadn't let go of the child until she was safe. She couldn't walk away. She touched his side gently. "You're not just a wolf," she said. "You're something else." The hallway stayed quiet. Outside, the night had grown cold. Claire didn't feel it. She looked at the sleeping girl through the small window. Then she looked back at the wolf. "Where did you come from?" And somewhere deep inside, though no sound came, She knew he would have answered her, if he could. Claire stayed beside the wolf. She hadn't moved in almost 30 minutes. Her legs had gone numb, but she didn't care. The wolf's body rose and fell, slow and shallow. His eyes were half closed now. Not asleep, just tired. More than tired. A quiet voice broke the silence. "You need anything, Claire?" It was Jordan, one of the older nurses. She was always calm, even when others weren't. Claire shook her head slightly. "Not for me." Jordan glanced at the wolf, then back to Claire. "They want to call animal control. Said he's wild. Could be dangerous." Claire didn't answer right away. She reached down and gently touched the wolf's paw, just above the wound. He didn't move. "He walked into a hospital carrying a half-dead child," she said. "If that's dangerous, I'll take it." Jordan nodded. "I'll stall them. Buy you some time." Claire gave a soft nod back. "Thank you." As Jordan walked away, Claire looked at the wolf again. "You knew what you were doing. You didn't just wander in." She stood slowly, stretching her legs. Her knees cracked. She hadn't realized how tightly she'd been sitting. Down the hall, behind the glass door of pediatric room 4, the girl was hooked up to monitors. Small chest rising. Wires taped gently across her skin. She looked smaller in the bed than she had on the floor. Still no name. Just the one word she whispered before falling under again. "Rachel." Claire stepped quietly into the room. The nurse watching over the girl nodded but didn't speak. There was a heaviness in the air, like everyone had agreed not to say too much. Claire sat beside the bed. The girl's hands were cold, her fingers twitching once in a while. Claire remembered when she'd last held a child this small. It had been years ago, in a desert clinic under a tarp, holding a little boy's hand while his mother wept outside. "You're strong," Claire whispered. "You held on, even in that cold." She paused. "And he carried you. That wolf, he carried you." The nurse leaned in. "There's no microchip, no ID, no missing persons matching her yet. But she's got old bruises, like someone held her too tight, and frostbite just starting to set in." Claire clenched her jaw. "What about Rachel?" The nurse shook her head. "No leads. Not yet." Claire looked down at the child again. Her lips were moving, but there was no sound. Outside the room, a small group had gathered. A few hospital administrators, 2 security staff, a man in a navy blazer, animal control. Claire stepped out. "I know what you're going to say," she began. "We're just doing our job, Claire," the man in the blazer said. "There's a wolf in the hospital. That's a public safety issue." "He hasn't hurt anyone," Claire said. "He brought her here. He trusted us. We can't make exceptions based on feelings." Claire narrowed her eyes. "What about facts? Because here's one: he didn't bite, growl, or threaten anyone. He walked in, laid a child on the floor, and collapsed." "Even so," the man said, "he's a wild animal. He needs to be taken in." Claire looked at the group. "You do that, and the girl will wake up without the one thing that kept her alive." There was silence. Jordan stepped up beside her. "We can isolate him, give him a space, keep him calm. We've done more for less." The man sighed. "One day, that's all I can give. Then he goes." Claire nodded. "That's all I need." That night, they moved the wolf to an unused observation room near the back. Clean floor, blankets, water. He didn't fight, didn't flinch. He followed Claire's voice, step by step. She sat with him as the vet cleaned his leg. He growled once, softly, but let it happen. Claire whispered to him the whole time, "You're okay. You did your part. Let us do ours." The vet looked up. "He's lost a lot of blood. Infections setting in. He needs treatment." "Then give it to him." "I'm not trained for wolves, Claire." "Then treat him like a dog and pray he doesn't know the difference." The vet smirked. "You're serious?" "He carried that child through God knows what," Claire said. "You tell me where the line is between wild and loyal." The vet nodded and went back to work. Claire stayed. She didn't look at her phone, didn't check messages, just sat there, one hand on the edge of the blanket, watching the wolf breathe. In the morning, the girl opened her eyes again. Claire was asleep in the chair beside her when it happened. A soft sound brought her back. She looked up. The girl was staring at her. Big eyes. Pale. Hollow but awake. Claire leaned forward. "Hey," she said softly. "You're safe." The girl blinked. Looked around the room. "Where?" "You're in a hospital. You came here yesterday. With someone." The girl's eyes welled up. She didn't cry, not really. Just tears leaking out, like her body remembered before her mind did. "Snow," she whispered. Claire's brow furrowed. "Snow?" The girl nodded. He found me. When Mommy didn't wake up, he stayed. He made fire. He laid next to me at night so I wouldn't be cold." Claire's throat tightened. The girl's lips trembled. "Is he okay?" Claire smiled gently. "He's here. He's sleeping. Same as you." The girl's eyes closed again. "Don't let them take him." "I won't," Claire said. "I promise." Claire stayed in the girl's room for the next hour. She didn't rush questions. She didn't push. She just sat there, holding the girl's hand while the machines beeped softly in the background. Her name was Ellie. She said it in a whisper when Claire asked. "How old are you, Ellie?" Claire asked gently. I'm 5. "You think?" Ellie looked away. "I don't have birthdays anymore." Claire felt that in her chest like a punch. She squeezed Ellie's hand just a little tighter. "What happened to your mom, sweetheart?" Ellie stared at the blanket. She didn't cry. She just spoke like someone older than 5. She stopped talking. Then she stopped moving. "Did anyone come for you?" Ellie shook her head. "Just Snow." Claire swallowed hard. "Where did he come from?" Ellie's lips twitched, almost like a smile, but it never fully formed. "He was always around. Mommy said he was watching us for a long time, but he didn't come close until the food ran out." Claire leaned back in the chair, eyes scanning the room. A silent alarm was building inside her now. This wasn't just a random girl lost in the woods. Someone had left her out there. Someone had watched her mother die. And this wolf Snow was the only reason she was alive. The door opened softly. Jordan stepped in with a tablet. "Sorry," she whispered. "Didn't mean to interrupt. I have something." Claire stood and walked over. Jordan handed her the screen. "Rachel Matthews," she said. "Single mom. Used to live 2 counties over. Went off the grid about 6 months ago. Was reported missing with 2 children, but the case went cold. No credit card use. No phone. Nothing. 2 kids." Jordan nodded. "A boy and a girl. The boy's name was Jonah. Age 6. Claire looked back at Ellie. She felt something shift in her stomach. "Did you have a brother, Ellie?" Ellie nodded, very slow. "Where is he now?" The girl didn't speak. She just turned her face into the pillow. Claire sat back down, touched her hair. "It's okay," she whispered. "You don't have to say anything. I'm here." Later that afternoon, Claire returned to Snow. He was still in the observation room, his paw freshly bandaged. For running. The vet had left a note. "Vitals stable. Still won't eat. Might respond to familiar scent." Claire sat beside him, opened a container of broth she had brought from the cafeteria. Not hospital food. Real food. She dipped a spoon in, held it under his nose. Snow sniffed, then, slowly, licked the spoon. "That's it," she whispered. "You're not done yet." His tail twitched just once. A soft, tired movement. She fed him a little more. He didn't rush it. Every bite seemed like an effort, but he trusted her. When she stood to stretch her legs, he lifted his head. Just slightly. He watched her walk toward the door. "You're not losing her," Claire said. "I'll make sure of it." Back in the main hallway, Claire met with Detective Reeves. He was local, mid-50s, quiet but sharp. He had soft eyes and a tired voice. "We pulled records," he said. "Rachel had filed reports 2 years ago. Domestic abuse. But nothing stuck. She left town. Didn't leave a forwarding address." "Who was the man?" Reeves looked down at his notepad. "Name was Tom Willis. Ex-boyfriend. Had a history. She tried to file for a restraining order, but she missed the court date. Any sign of him now? Not yet, but we're looking. Claire nodded. She didn't just get lost. She ran. Reeves folded the notebook. And she had reason to. That night, Claire visited Ellie again. The girl was awake, sitting up in bed, slowly sipping apple juice through a straw. Did you know your mom was trying to protect you? Claire asked. Ellie nodded. She told me not to cry. She said if I cried, someone might hear. Claire knelt beside the bed. She was very brave. Ellie's eyes welled again. She held me when it got cold. Claire wiped the tear that slid down her cheek. She loved you, Ellie, so much. She kept you alive until Snow could take over. Do you think Mommy's gone now? Ellie asked. Claire paused. She couldn't lie. Not to her. I think your mommy made sure you'd be safe. I think she gave everything she had so you'd see another day. Ellie looked at the window, where the moonlight poured through. I miss her. Claire wrapped her arms around her gently. Ellie didn't pull away. I know, Claire whispered. I know. The next morning, Reeves returned. We found something, he said. About 30 miles from here. Old hunting shack. Half collapsed. Looked like someone lived there for a while. We found a burned sleeping bag, cans, wrappers. Blood on the wall. Claire's heart dropped. Rachel. Most likely. Jonah. Reeves looked down. There was another body. Claire closed her eyes for a second. We also found something else, Reeves added. A journal. It's mostly burned, but a few pages survived. She wrote about Snow. Called him the ghost in the trees. Said he'd been watching from a distance for weeks. Said when the snowstorm came, she thought they were done for. But he appeared and laid beside Ellie all night. Claire felt her chest ache. She said he was her last prayer, Reeves finished. Her last hope. Claire didn't speak. She couldn't. Back in Snow's room, she sat beside him again. His breathing was steadier now. His eyes opened when she entered. He raised his head. I know what you did, she said softly. I know you carried her all this way. Snow blinked slowly. You didn't run from danger. You ran toward help. You did what most people wouldn't. She pulled out the journal page they had copied. It was stained, but readable. If I don't make it, please save Ellie, she read aloud. She has a heart condition. Needs her meds. I tried so hard. Claire folded the paper gently. You didn't let her down, she said. You finished what her mother started. Snow lowered his head to the blanket and exhaled. And Claire stayed. Claire stayed with Snow until the hallway lights dimmed. Nurses passed quietly. No one disturbed them. Snow's eyes would open each time a footstep passed near the door, but he never lifted his head unless Claire moved. You never left her, did you? She whispered. Not for a second. Snow blinked, slow and steady. His body was thin. There were patches on his side where the fur was burned, maybe from being near a fire too long, or running through brush trying to get somewhere fast. But he was still strong enough to protect her, to carry her. Claire reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small strip of cloth. It was the corner of the red scarf Ellie had been wrapped in when Snow brought her in. The rest was cut and stained during triage. She had saved a piece. She laid it near Snow's paw. His nose twitched. She's okay, Claire said. You did that. You gave her back a chance. Snow moved just a little. A small sound came from deep in his throat. Not a growl. Not a whimper. Just soft. Like he knew. Claire didn't say anything else. She leaned against the wall and let herself drift off for a few minutes. Just breathing. Not thinking. In the morning, she returned to Ellie's room. The girl was stronger. Sitting up. Holding a small coloring book one of the nurses had brought. Claire smiled and knocked lightly on the door before stepping in. Ellie looked up. Hi. Hi, sweetheart. You look better. I had toast. Claire chuckled. The first toast after a storm always tastes the best. Ellie nodded. Can I see Snow? Soon, Claire said. He's healing too. Ellie looked down at her lap. They'll take him. No, they won't. Claire said firmly. Not while I'm here. But they said wolves aren't allowed. Claire walked over and sat beside her. Some rules break when someone does something no one thought was possible. That's what Snow did. Ellie leaned against Claire's arm without saying a word. Claire spoke softly. Tell me more about what happened out there. Only if you want. Ellie was quiet for a long time. Her small fingers twisted the corner of the blanket. Mommy was scared, she said finally. She said we had to go far, that we couldn't trust anyone. She cried a lot when Jonah got sick. Claire swallowed hard. You kept going? Ellie nodded. We walked a long time. Then we stayed in a small place with wood and holes in the wall. Mommy made a fire with books. But the wind got too strong. Claire listened, her heart breaking more with every word. Did Snow find you then? Ellie shook her head. He was watching. From the trees. He came after Jonah. After he stopped moving. Claire reached for her hand. I'm sorry, Ellie. I'm so sorry. Ellie didn't cry. She just looked down. He came close and laid beside me, she said. I thought he would eat me, but he just stayed. I put my hands in his fur. He was warm. Claire's voice cracked. He saved you. Ellie nodded. He's not a wolf. What is he then? Ellie looked up. He's my friend. That evening, animal control returned. The same man from before stood in the hallway, clipboard in hand. Claire met him before he reached Snow's room. I thought we had more time, she said. You got 2 days, he replied. It's been 3. I need more time. I'm sorry. He has to be taken for evaluation. Claire stepped in his way. He's not going anywhere. I'm not here to argue, Claire. And I'm not here to let someone take him away from a child who already lost everything. A voice came from behind. What's going on? It was Dr. Keller, the hospital administrator. Claire turned to her. They're trying to remove the one thing keeping Ellie stable. Dr. Keller sighed. We're a hospital, not a wildlife center. Claire nodded. Then treat this like a trauma case. Emotional recovery. That animal is part of her healing. You remove him now, and I won't be able to explain to her why we didn't protect him the way he protected her. The hallway went quiet. The animal control officer hesitated. Dr. Keller looked between them. Finally, she said, one more night. But by morning, I want him in proper care. Claire didn't argue. She turned back to Snow's room. Inside, she knelt beside him, whispered to him, They want to take you, but I'm not letting them. Snow blinked slowly. His eyes looked more alert today. You stayed with her. Now I'll stay with you. The next morning, Claire made a decision. She signed a temporary custody form, filed it under a loophole in the county code for emergency emotional support animals. She called the vet, got Snow's paperwork started, arranged for injections, a safe collar, microchip. It wasn't permanent, but it was enough. Reeves came by later that day. You're really going all in for this wolf, huh? Claire looked up from the forms. I've seen good men do less for each other, she said. Reeves chuckled. That's fair. He paused, then said, We traced Rachel's movements, found a receipt from a gas station, dated 2 days before the storm. There's a man on the security footage arguing with her. Tom Willis. Yep, he followed her, probably tracked her to the woods, then gave up when the weather got bad. You think he knows she's dead? I think he doesn't care. I think he wanted silence. Claire nodded. But she sent a message. Reeves raised an eyebrow. Ellie. Snow. They made it. That's the message. Reeves nodded slowly. So what now? Claire looked through the window at Ellie's room. We let her heal. We let her remember the people and the animal who carried her through hell. Then we make sure no one like Tom ever touches another child again. That night, Claire brought Ellie to Snow's room for the first time since that morning. Ellie stood quietly in the doorway. Snow raised his head. His tail moved once. Hi, Ellie whispered. She walked forward slowly, sat beside him, laid her hand on his shoulder. You came back, she said softly. I knew you would. Snow licked her hand once, then rested his head in her lap. Claire stood at the door watching. She didn't speak, just let the moment settle. No one said a word, but something deep in that room felt whole again. Later that night, Claire sat alone in the staff lounge. The coffee machine buzzed behind her, but she didn't touch her cup. She was staring at a printed photo, Rachel's missing persons flyer, dated 6 months back. She looked so young in it, tired eyes, smiling but only with her mouth. Claire traced the edge of the page with her thumb. "Who were you running from?" she whispered. Her phone buzzed. A message from Reeves. "We found something. Might want to see it." She stood, grabbed her coat, and walked quickly to the security office down the hall. Reeves was already waiting inside, beside a desk with 2 monitors showing grainy black and white footage. "This is from the woods near the cabin," he said. "Wildlife camera. Motion activated." He pressed play. First, just wind-blown trees. Then movement. Snow. Limping. Carrying Ellie in his jaws. Her body swaddled in the red scarf, barely moving. He walked past the camera slowly. Focused. Determined. Reeves paused the frame. "You see his eyes?" he asked. Claire nodded. "That's not an animal just following instinct," Reeves said. "That's something else." Claire swallowed. "That's loyalty." Reeves leaned back. "People don't believe animals understand things like grief, but I've seen enough to know better." "Me too." He picked up another folder and handed it to her. "What's this?" "Background on Rachel's ex Tom Willis. He's disappeared. No activity on cards, no known address. But we pulled his car from a creek 3 counties north. Dead. No sign of a body. But the inside of the car had torn cloth that matched what Rachel was wearing in one of the footage clips." Claire's chest tightened. "You think he tried to follow them?" "I think he did follow them. And snow stopped him." Claire looked back at the paused video. The wolf. The child. A forest that should have taken both. But it didn't. The next morning, Ellie drew a picture. Claire found her sitting up in bed, tongue tucked between her lips in concentration, coloring carefully. "What's that?" Claire asked. Ellie held it up. It was 3 figures. One tall with short brown hair. One small with a pink dress. One big and white with dark eyes. "That's you," Ellie said, pointing to the tall one. "That's me. And that's Snow." Claire smiled. "We look good." Ellie looked serious. "This is our family now." Claire didn't answer at first. She reached out and brushed Ellie's hair behind her ear. "I like that," she said softly. Ellie handed her the drawing. "You can keep it." Claire looked at it for a long time before folding it gently and sliding it into her coat pocket. "I'll keep it with me always," she said. That evening, as the sun started to fall behind the hills, Claire took Ellie by the hand and led her to Snow's room one more time. He was standing now, weak but standing. When he saw Ellie, his ears perked up. His body relaxed. Claire let go of Ellie's hand and stepped back. Ellie walked forward. Slow, careful. She knelt beside him, wrapped her arms around his neck, and rested her face in his fur. Snow didn't move. He just closed his eyes. Claire stood in the doorway watching. Her hand slowly slipped into her coat pocket and touched the folded drawing. She didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. Just that this moment right here was the beginning of something new, and far from over. Claire didn't sleep much that night. She stayed at the hospital, not because she had to, but because leaving didn't feel right. The hallway lights were dimmed. The nurses moved softer after dark, but the weight in her chest didn't go away. She sat in the break room with the journal again, the one Rachel had written in. What was left of it, anyway. The burned pages were brittle and hard to hold, but the words, they stayed. He watches from the edge. Doesn't come close. Not yet. The kids don't understand why we can't light fires anymore. There's something out there, but it's not hunting us. Claire read those lines over and over. Then she flipped to the one that stopped her heart every time. If I don't make it, please save Ellie. She has a heart condition. Needs her meds. I tried so hard. She closed the book and leaned her head back against the chair. Eyes closed. hands still gripping the pages like they were holding her together. By morning, Reeves was waiting for her at the hospital entrance. "Got time for a drive?" he asked. Claire nodded. They drove out past the main road, past the turnoffs, past the fields that still held morning frost along the edges. "Where are we going?" she asked. Reeves didn't answer at first. He just pointed to a dirt path between two fence posts. "She came through here." The trail was narrow and rough. The car bounced as they moved deeper into the woods. Claire stared out the window. "It doesn't look like a path." "That's because it wasn't," Reeves said. "She made it one." After 20 minutes, he parked. They got out. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels too big. Trees stood thick and close. The ground was soft, mud in places, snow in others. "Over there," he said, pointing to a broken stump. "That's where we found the sleeping bag." Claire walked slowly. She didn't want to rush this. The ground was still disturbed. Someone had laid there, struggled, fought maybe. There were claw marks on the bark, old but deep. Was this where she died? Reeves shook his head. She made it farther. He led her about 30 more feet into the brush. There, half covered by branches, was the hunting shack. Collapsed on one side, a roof barely hanging. The smell hit first. Old fire, dampness, and something else. Lost. "This is where we found her," Reeves said. Claire stepped inside carefully. There was still a torn blanket in the corner, a small boot, an empty bottle, and in the corner, blood. Faded but still staining the wood. She knelt beside it. "She died protecting them." Reeves nodded. "We found her holding the boy." Claire closed her eyes. Why didn't she run to town? She was scared. She thought if anyone saw her, he might find her. "Tom." "We think so." Claire stood and looked around. "How far is this from the hospital?" "About 9 miles as the crow flies." "And snow carried Ellie this whole way?" "In snow. In cold. On a bad leg." Claire looked back at the shack. What kind of man chases a woman into this? The kind that shouldn't walk free. Back at the hospital, Claire returned to Ellie's room. The girl was awake, holding a juice box. "You went somewhere," she said quietly. Claire smiled. "Just for a little while." "Did you see where Mommy was?" Claire paused, then nodded. "I did." Ellie looked down at her blanket. She tried to wait for help, but no one came. Claire sat on the edge of the bed. "She did more than wait. She kept you alive. And she found snow." Ellie's eyes lit up just a little. "He stayed with me when I cried. He let me sleep on him when it was cold. He found berries for me." Claire's heart ached. "You remember all that?" Ellie nodded. "He didn't eat any. He gave them to me first." Claire reached over and touched her hand. "He's special." "I think he's an angel," Ellie said. Claire smiled. "Maybe he is." Later that afternoon, Claire walked back to Snow's room. He was standing again, slowly, carefully, but stronger. "Hey, partner," she said. He looked up, ears twitching slightly. She pulled out something from her coat pocket. A new collar, plain, soft leather, a simple tag attached. On the tag, a name, Snow. Claire knelt. "I know you're not mine," she said, "but if you're okay with it, I'd like to help you stay." She held the collar in front of him. He didn't move. Then, slowly, he stepped forward. Just one paw. She slipped the collar gently around his neck. "Fits," she said. He blinked, and for the first time since he arrived, he licked her hand. That evening, Reeves returned. "I need to tell you something," he said. Claire nodded. He opened a folder and handed her a photo. "That's Tom. Security camera from 3 days ago. Gas station 90 miles south." "He's still moving," Claire said. Reeves looked serious. "He might be trying to finish what he started." Claire didn't hesitate. "Then we better be ready." They stood in silence for a few seconds. Reeves rubbed the back of his neck. "I've already notified Child Services and the sheriff's office. They're watching nearby routes in and out of town." Claire didn't respond. Her mind was already moving. She'd seen this kind of thing before, not just in war zones. Sometimes, danger looked like a man in a pickup truck who thought no one could stop him. A man who believed he owned what he hurt. She turned toward Ellie's room. "We can't let him near her." "I won't," Reeves said. "But Claire, I need to ask. Do you think she remembers enough to help?" Claire shook her head. "She remembers pain. She remembers running. But details? I don't know. She's 5. Her brain's protecting her." Reeves sighed. "Then we need to protect her, too." Claire stayed close the rest of the day. She didn't hover, but she didn't let Ellie out of her sight, either. They played with a small stuffed animal someone had donated from the lobby gift bin. Claire watched Ellie's little fingers braid a tiny ribbon around its neck. "You ever been to school, Ellie?" Claire asked gently. "No. Did your mom teach you at home?" "She used to read to me, before the cabin." "What kinds of books?" Ellie smiled a little. "Stories about wolves. She said they're not bad like people think. They just protect in different ways." Claire nodded. "She sounds like a smart woman." Ellie looked down. "She said I'm like her. Brave, even when I'm scared." "You are," Claire said. "Brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you keep going anyway." Ellie sat quietly for a while. "Will Snow come live with me?" Claire didn't answer right away. "I hope so," she said. "We're doing everything we can to make sure you're together." Ellie looked up. "Can I be with you too?" Claire blinked. "What do you mean?" "If I can't go back with Mommy, maybe I could go with you." Claire's throat tightened. She forced a small smile. "We'll talk to the right people, okay? But no matter what, I'll be in your life. That's a promise." Ellie nodded and went back to braiding the ribbon. That evening, Claire stepped out to take a call. Reeves was on the line again. "We got something new," he said. Claire walked down the back hallway, lowering her voice. "What is it?" "One of our guys pulled surveillance footage from a rest stop near the interstate. Tom's car is spotted there. Day before yesterday. Alone. Alone. No one else. He was talking to someone on a payphone. For nearly 4 minutes. Can we trace it?" "We're trying." But the call went to a burner. Claire leaned against the wall. "He's planning something. We think he's circling. Watching. Waiting." Claire didn't speak for a second. Then she said, "I want to take Ellie somewhere safe." "You thinking of moving her?" "Temporarily. Somewhere with eyes and locks." Reeves paused. "All right, I'll make the call." The next morning, Claire packed Ellie's things into a hospital tote bag. A nurse helped fold clothes into a pillowcase for Snow, who had begun walking short distances with help. Claire lifted Ellie gently and carried her through the back hallway. Snow followed behind. Slow, quiet, steady. The hospital board had approved a private safe house owned by the county, used in emergencies, tucked behind a police substation, with reinforced doors and a secure garden. They arrived by noon. Ellie stepped out of the car slowly. She held Claire's hand the whole way. "Where are we?" "A quiet place where no one can find you," Claire said. "Just for a while." "Can Snow stay too?" Claire opened the rear door. Snow stepped out carefully. He sniffed the air, then leaned gently against Claire's hip. "He's not going anywhere," she said. Inside the house, Ellie walked through the rooms quietly. She found the corner of the living room and sat on the floor with her back against the wall. Claire set a small lamp beside her and handed her a book from the hospital library. "Want me to read to you?" Ellie shook her head. "I want to read to him." She opened the book and looked at Snow, who had settled on the rug nearby. "This one has animals," she said. "You're in here." "I know it." Claire sat on the edge of the couch and just watched. The way Ellie turned the pages. The way Snow laid his head down with one ear turned toward her voice. Something about it felt whole. But it didn't last long. Her phone buzzed again. "Reeves, update. He's getting closer." Claire stepped into the hallway and called him immediately. "What does that mean?" she asked quietly. Reeves answered with tension in his voice. "One of our cameras picked up his license plate on the East Bypass. That's less than 10 miles from where you are." Claire looked back into the living room. Ellie was still reading aloud. Snow hadn't moved. Are you sure it's him? Same make, same model, same tags. He's circling. Is he alone? We can't tell. The windows are dark. Claire felt her fingers tighten around the phone. You need to get someone here. We're already on it, Reeves said. I've got 2 patrol units headed to the house. ETA 5 minutes. Claire ended the call and walked back into the room, slow and calm. She didn't show anything on her face. She didn't speak with fear in her voice. Ellie, she said gently, can you come with me to the bedroom for a second? Ellie looked up. Why? I want to show you something special. The girl stood and took her hand. Claire led her down the hallway to the back room. It was quiet there. Snow followed closely. Claire sat her on the bed. Everything is okay, she said, kneeling down. But I need you to stay in here for a little while, all right? You and Snow. Just stay quiet. Can you do that for me? Ellie nodded slowly. Is the bad man coming? Claire's heart twisted. I don't know, she said honestly. But I won't let anyone hurt you. Not ever. Ellie leaned forward and hugged her neck. Tight. Claire held her back, then looked at Snow. Watch her, she said. He stood taller, alert, as if he understood every word. Claire shut the door behind her, but didn't lock it. She stepped back into the hallway just as headlights hit the front window. A dark car slowed in front of the house. Claire moved to the side window, careful to stay out of view. The car didn't park. It just crept along, like it was watching, counting windows, looking for signs of life. She reached for her phone again, dialed Reeves. Where's the backup? She whispered. Almost there, he said. Don't engage. Just stay inside. The car paused. Claire's breath held in her chest. Then it moved again, rolled down the road, disappeared behind the trees. 2 minutes later, flashing lights came from the opposite direction. A police SUV pulled into the driveway. Another followed behind. Claire opened the front door. He was just here, she said. Dark sedan. Windows tinted. Slow drive-by. The first officer nodded. We'll run the street now, and then double the patrol tonight. Claire nodded. Thank you. Back inside, she returned to the bedroom. Ellie was still on the bed, Snow sitting beside her like a statue. It's okay, Claire said. He's gone for now, but we're going to stay here tonight. All of us. Ellie whispered. Did he see me? No, and he won't. Claire looked at Snow. He'll have to go through both of us. Snow didn't move, but the message was clear. That night, as rain began to fall, Claire sat by the window watching. She didn't sleep. She didn't want to. In the next room, she could hear Ellie's breathing, soft and even. She turned to Snow, who laid nearby, eyes half open, still listening to everything. Whatever you are, she whispered. I hope you know, I'd fight for her too. Snow didn't blink. He just kept watching. Claire looked out the window again. There were no lights, no sound. But in her gut, she knew the man wasn't finished. He was close, and he was waiting. The rain didn't stop. It tapped against the windows of the safe house for hours, steady and cold. Claire didn't sleep. Snow didn't either. He laid near the door, head low, ears sharp. Every few minutes, he looked toward the hallway, where Ellie was still asleep, as if checking she was there. Claire sat in the armchair facing the front door, blanket around her shoulders, phone in hand. She had pulled up Rachel's file again. Not the official one. The notes she'd made herself. The ones no one else had seen. The journal entries. The timeline. The photos. Everything that didn't sit right. At 4:12 a.m., she clicked open the audio file she hadn't had the strength to listen to before. A voicemail, dated 8 months back. Rachel's voice, quiet, shaky. If something happens to me, if this message ever reaches someone who cares, please protect my kids. There's someone following me. He said I'd never make it out, but I have to try. They're just children. He's not just angry, he enjoys it. I've seen what he does to animals, what he's capable of. There was a pause. Then, I saw the wolf again. He's not scared of the dark. Maybe that's why he keeps finding us. Claire shut the phone off and sat back, the words still bouncing in her mind. Rachel had run. Not blindly, not out of fear alone, but to protect, to save. And she'd been right. The danger hadn't gone away. In the morning, Ellie woke with circles under her eyes. She walked into the living room, rubbing her cheek against her shoulder. Claire met her halfway with a soft smile and a warm mug of milk. "No bad dreams?" Claire asked. Ellie shrugged. "Only quiet ones." She sipped her drink and sat on the floor beside Snow. "I think I remember more," she said softly. Claire leaned down. "What do you remember?" Ellie picked at the hem of her shirt. "The night we left the house. Mommy told Jonah to stay quiet. She put him in the back seat. She kept looking behind us." Claire stayed silent. Ellie continued. "She drove fast. We didn't stop for snacks or music like before. Then we got to the woods. What happened there? We walked. A lot. Mommy hurt her foot. She cried at night but didn't let me see." Claire's voice was barely above a whisper. "What about Tom?" Ellie flinched. "He yelled a lot. Broke things. He had big hands." Claire sat beside her. "You don't have to talk about him if you're not ready." Ellie looked at Snow. "He scared him too. That's why he stayed away at first. But when Mommy got sick, he came close." Claire put a hand on her back. "You're doing so good, Ellie." The girl leaned against her shoulder. Quiet. Snow rested his head on her lap. That afternoon, Reeves arrived with another file. He laid it on the table and didn't speak for a long moment. Claire opened it. Photos, documents, police records, court transcripts. Tom Willis. 2 prior arrests for domestic violence. 1 dismissed. 1 negotiated down to disorderly conduct. No jail time. He worked for a private wildlife collector, Reeves said. Transported exotic animals under the table. That's how he met Rachel. She was hired to help on the admin side. Didn't know what she was walking into. Claire flipped through the pages. Did she report anything? 3 times. Every time she did, something happened to her apartment. Her car. Her mailbox got ripped open. Once, her cat disappeared. Claire's hands tightened. She knew no one would protect her, Reeves said. So she ran. Smart, Claire whispered. But not far enough. Until now. Claire looked up. You think he's coming here? Reeves exhaled. He's not dumb, but he's desperate. He's been off-grid for months. No money trail. No phone. No job. Just a man with nothing left but rage. Claire stood. Then he's most dangerous now. Later that night, Claire sat on the edge of Ellie's bed. The little girl was brushing Snow's fur with a soft baby hairbrush. He didn't move. His eyes closed, completely calm. Do you remember what Snow did when you were scared? Claire asked. Ellie nodded. He would lie beside me and make little sounds. Not growls. Just little puffs. Like a lullaby. Claire smiled. He helped you sleep. He helped me stay alive. Claire touched her hand. You did that too. You didn't give up. Ellie blinked slow. Mommy said when you don't know what to do, be quiet and listen to your heart. That's smart advice. The girl leaned against Snow. My heart said trust him. Claire nodded. Mine did too. The storm returned just after midnight. Thunder rolled low and long. Claire didn't sleep. Again. She walked the hallway slowly, checked every window, every lock. She poured a cup of tea and sat back by the front window. Rain streaked the glass. Then headlights. Just for a second. They passed the driveway. Kept moving. Too slow to be casual. Too fast to be local. Claire didn't blink. She just watched. Snow stirred behind her. They both knew. The man was still out there. And getting closer. The rain was still falling when Claire opened her eyes. She hadn't meant to sleep. Just rest. 1 hour, maybe less. Snow was no longer by the window. He was standing now in the center of the living room, tail still, ears up. Claire sat up slowly. You hear something? Snow didn't look at her. His gaze was locked on the door. Claire stood, heart tightening. She grabbed her phone. Reeves. No answer. She moved to the side window, pulled back the curtain half an inch. Nothing. Just wet trees. Empty road. Then a shadow. Small. Fast. Behind the shed across the street. Claire pulled the curtain tighter. She stepped into the hallway and opened Ellie's bedroom door. The girl was asleep, curled up on her side, hand resting on Snow's old red scarf. Snow padded in beside her. He stood at the foot of the bed. Claire whispered, "Stay with her." She shut the door and walked to the front window again. Nothing moved, but her gut screamed. She unlocked the drawer in the kitchen, pulled out the emergency radio. Static. Then Reeves' voice broke through. "Report from East Patrol. Someone matching the vehicle description parked near the fire trail. Repeat, near the trail behind." The radio cut. Then came the sound. A creak. Not from inside. From the back door. Claire froze. She reached for the fire poker by the fireplace. Not a gun. But it would do. She moved down the hallway. Another sound. Metal. The back latch turning. Claire's heart pounded. Then the door opened. Slow. A figure slipped inside. Hood up. Wet jacket. Boots tracking mud. He didn't see her yet. Claire raised the poker high. "Don't move." The man turned. It was Tom. He smiled. "Found you." She didn't wait. Claire swung. Hard. The poker hit his arm, and he stumbled, growling in pain. "You think I came here for you?" He spat. Claire didn't respond. She backed toward the hallway, keeping herself between him and Ellie's room. "You've got no idea what you just messed up," he said, straightening. "That little girl, she belongs to me." "No," Claire said. "She never did." Tom rushed forward. Claire stepped back fast, swinging again. This time he ducked, grabbed her wrist, twisted hard. She gritted her teeth but didn't scream. Then, Snow. Out of nowhere, a white blur slammed into Tom from the side. They crashed into the kitchen table. Chairs flew. Claire fell back, gasping. Tom rolled over, trying to grab something. Anything. Snow was on him, teeth bared, but not biting, just holding him down, growling low, deep from his chest. Claire scrambled up and ran to the door. Opened it. Police lights flashed in the distance. Sirens now. She turned back just in time to see Tom shove Snow off, grab a kitchen knife from the counter, and lunge. Claire didn't think. She didn't speak. She threw herself at him. They hit the floor hard. The knife slid under the fridge. He punched her once in the side. She coughed, rolled, tried to get up. Then Snow was back. This time with a full-body hit that slammed Tom into the cabinets. Front door burst open. "Police!" Reeves was first through. Gun raised. "Get off him!" Claire shouted. "No, don't shoot. He saved us." Snow backed away just enough. Two officers tackled Tom, pinned him, cuffed him hard. He was bleeding, panting, laughing. "You think it's over?" he wheezed. "There's more. You don't even know." Reeves stood over him. "Try me." Tom said nothing else. Ellie watched from the hallway, eyes wide. Claire knelt beside her. "You're safe," she said. "It's okay now." Ellie's lips trembled. "Is Snow okay?" Claire looked over. Snow was sitting now, sides heaving but alert. "He's okay." Ellie walked to him, laid her head against his chest. Snow didn't move. 2 hours later, the house was quiet again. Police had cleared out. Tom was in custody. Claire sat on the porch with a blanket over her shoulders. Reeves joined her. "You all right?" he asked. She nodded. "I've seen worse. But it still hurts." Claire gave a soft laugh. "Yeah. You know you saved her life. She saved mine too." Reeves looked out at the trees. "We found a burner phone in his car. Texts. Photos. He was planning this for weeks." Claire closed her eyes. "I need to make sure she never has to look over her shoulder again." "You've done that," he said. "For now." Claire shook her head. "Not enough. I want guardianship." Reeves raised an eyebrow. "That's a big step. She asked to be with me, and I said yes. I won't break that." Reeves nodded slowly. You'll need to speak to child services. But with what you've done, I think they'll listen. Claire looked back toward the house. Snow sat at the window watching her, still protecting. Always. Back inside, Ellie drew again. This time it was different. She handed the paper to Claire quietly. 3 figures again. Her, Claire, and Snow. But this time, there was a sun in the sky, and a small heart drawn above them all. The paperwork didn't take long. Not when you'd already walked through fire. 3 days after the arrest, Claire sat in a small county office, across the table from a woman in glasses and a sweater that said CPS in faded letters. The woman's voice was kind, professional, but more than anything it was warm. She wants to stay with you? The woman asked. Claire nodded. She asked before I even thought about it. Is that something you want? Claire didn't hesitate. Yes. The woman leaned forward, folded her hands. You saved her life, Claire. Claire looked down at the photo sitting between them. Ellie and Snow, both asleep on the couch. The child curled up with her fingers in his fur. The wolf curled around her like he'd been born to protect. Claire smiled. No, she said. She saved mine. Back at the safe house, Ellie was sitting on the porch step with a cup of juice and a small purple notebook. She was drawing again. Pages and pages. Every picture told part of the story before, during, and after. Sometimes it was sad, but sometimes it was just simple. In one drawing, she and Snow sat under a tree. Claire stood nearby holding a small book. In another, they were at a picnic table. Apples, sandwiches, a smile on Snow's face or something close to it. When Claire returned, she didn't say anything. She just walked up the steps, sat down beside her. What you working on now? She asked. Ellie turned the notebook so Claire could see. A new drawing. A house, a fence, flowers in the yard, and 3 names written in big block letters. Ellie, Claire, Snow. Claire felt her throat tighten. Is this a dream? She asked. Ellie shook her head. It's what's next. The following week, Claire moved them into a small rental house near the hospital. It wasn't fancy. 1 floor, creaky porch, but it had everything they needed. A big yard, a quiet street, and a fenced-in garden where Snow could lay in the sun. Ellie picked her bedroom the moment they walked in. This one, she said, spinning around. The window faces the stars. Claire smiled. Then it's yours. Snow walked through the house slowly, sniffing corners, checking doors. He found his spot beside the back window. Same as always. That night they made grilled cheese. Burned the first one. Laughed. Ellie fell asleep with her arm around Snow's neck. Claire stood in the doorway and watched them both. Safe. Finally. On a quiet Sunday, Reeves came to visit. He brought flowers. Not for Claire but for Ellie. Wild ones. She placed them in a cup and set them beside Snow's bowl. Reeves sat on the porch beside Claire, sipping cold tea. You did it, he said. Claire looked out at the garden. She still wakes up some nights. Doesn't cry. Just sits up. That'll pass. She's stronger than anyone knows. Reeves looked at her. So are you. Claire didn't speak. She didn't need to. A few days later, a letter arrived. Stamped and official. Temporary guardianship. Approved. Claire sat at the kitchen table staring at it. Her hands didn't shake. Her breath didn't catch. But something inside her settled. She looked up. Ellie was on the floor, playing with a small puzzle. Snow lay nearby, head resting on her foot. Claire stood, crossed the room, knelt down. I have something to tell you. Ellie looked up. Claire handed her the letter. What's this? She asked. It means you're home, Claire said. For good. Ellie didn't answer. She wrapped her arms around Claire's neck and held on. Claire closed her eyes. That night, Claire tucked her in under a soft blue blanket. Can I tell you something? Ellie whispered. Of course. I had a dream. Mommy was there. Claire sat beside her. What did she say? She said she's happy. Because I'm safe. Because you're here. Claire brushed a piece of hair from her forehead. She'd be proud of you, she said. She said Snow's an angel. Claire looked over at the sleeping wolf. I think she's right. Outside, the stars were out. Clear sky, still night. Claire stepped onto the porch with a cup of tea. Snow followed, sat beside her. She reached down and rubbed behind his ear. Thank you, she whispered, for finding her, for carrying her when no one else could, for trusting me. Snow didn't move, just leaned against her leg. In that silence, nothing needed saying. Some families are built on blood, some on paper, but some are born out of fire, out of rescue, out of pain, out of the quiet promise that no matter how bad it gets, someone will find you, and stay, and never leave. Thank you to my amazing family for staying with me until the end of this story. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed this journey, I just know you'll love what comes next. I've prepared something even more exciting and surprising that I can't wait to share with you. Just click on the end card appearing on your screen right now to watch the next one.